Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Astrology Hub podcast. This is our flagship show dedicated to really helping you with a lot of different perspectives on astrology and how it can help you in many, many different aspects of life. Today, we're going to be focusing on leadership and your leadership archetype and what your astrology chart can tell you about the way that you are meant to lead in the world. We have a very special guest with us here today, Rachel Onojafe. And we're so excited to have you. Rachel has been an Inner Circle member. She is someone that we've identified as an astrologer that we would love to introduce to you, our community. And Rachel, welcome. It's great to have you here for your Astrology Hub debut.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, this feels amazing. I'm so happy to be here with everyone. Thank you, Amanda, for inviting me as well. This is awesome.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Okay, so let's start at the place that I love to start with our new podcast guests, which is tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to practice astrology, and especially the type of astrology you practice today.
Absolutely. Ooh, great questions. So a bit about my story. I think a lot of people end up finding the system of astrology, the wisdom, the cosmic insights, when they're kind of at a low point, right? Like there's maybe a Saturn return involved, maybe. Yes, that's how it was for me. So, and a kind of a breakdown of a relationship. So I was always interested in kind of the celestial bodies. Like since I was a kid, I was obsessed with the moon. Like the moon, I love your background. It's giving me life. But I was always so interested in the moon, but I always kind of poo-pooed astrology. I was like, oh, like the horoscopes, they don't relate to me. It's just kind of like a weird thing. I don't know how that would work. But then after I had this like big cathartic relationship where I was like over giving and trying to take care of everything and trying to heal someone's wounds that weren't my work to do. I mean, it was just like, I think a lot of people can probably identify, right? It's like give, hustle, hustle, hustle. I just ended up getting into a real burnout space. And then I was like, okay, I started researching the science. I was like, what's adrenal fatigue? I'm sure I have it. Like, let me figure out what's going on with the hormones, what's happening. And, getting a lot of anxiety, panic attacks, all these things. And so I found my way back to the moon. Somehow, I'm sure it was through Astrology Hub, I found Jennifer Raziopi, and I was like, I have to do her lunar logic thing. And I just started working with the moon cycles. And that was my gateway to everything. That was the gateway to understanding myself deeper, my gateway to getting into astrology and the cosmic insights, to getting more clear on like my path and who I was. Because I realized that I just really had this like cognitive dissonance with who I really was deep down inside and who I was trying to be. And I think a lot of people, I'm sure people can resonate with this around the topic of leadership, right? Because it's like, we want to be leaders, but it's like, how do we do it in our way? And I personally ended up burning out a lot, trying to give, trying to hustle, and trying to be someone that I wasn't. So that's how I really found astrology. I'm so grateful. And I mean, Astrology Hub was a huge part of that too, because that's where I really started my self-study. That's where I, started learning about all the luminaries, out there, Christopher Renstrom, Gemini Bread, K Pacha, and Ortelee. I was like, oh my God, who are these people? How do they know this much? I need to learn this stuff.
Oh my goodness. You are just speaking to my heart, Rachel, and especially right now, for whatever reason, for me personally, and maybe this is in the zeitgeist for all of us. I mean, obviously we're talking about it right now, but this idea of reimagining leadership, recognizing the way that we've led in the past and what it results in, what you're describing, the burnout, the hustle, the fatigue, the overgiving, all those things, it's not sustainable, and Saturn's in here saying like this, it needs to be sustainable long-term. So there's this opportunity to really re-envision. And I'm sure so much of the clues of how we're meant to do that are in our design, are in our chart. It's like, look, your chart's telling you the best way for you to show up and lead. And even if that means leadership in your family, leadership in the way that you show up for your friends and your community, it's not always like, oh, you're a business leader,
Exactly.
There's also redefining what leadership is, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that's why, which we'll get onto in a minute, that's why I use the midheaven more than the 10th house. I know the midheaven leads into the 10th house, but the midheaven to me is leadership in all forms. It's like in the family, in your life, just in terms of any dream that you want to go after. I love that you said that. Yeah, thanks for bringing that in.
And the really cool treat that Rachel has for all of us here today, she's going to go through all the signs, so all 12 signs. So everyone listening, you're going to get a glimpse into your leadership style and what the chart is saying about your leadership style. So let's start. Where would you like to start with the exploration of it's the midheaven and the north node?
The north node. Yeah, okay. Those are the two bits that I want to get into. And first, I just recognized I didn't actually introduce myself really. I wanted to say that I'll give you my vital statistics for those astrology lovers, obviously everyone here. Thank you. I am a Sun Libra. I am a Gemini moon. I think we share. Do you have a Gemini moon?
Yes. Oh my God.
I do. I'm not a stalker, I promise. I know. And then I am Pisces rising, like 0 degrees. And
as you were speaking, Rachel, I was like, I bet she's a Libra sun. Like just the way you were describing what happened in that cycle that you got stuck in and that whole process, like, gosh, that feels so Libra sun. And I actually just got off a conversation with a Libra sun and it was very similar. So yes.
Yeah, exactly. We see it so clear. It just, the clarity is incredible. I love that you guessed that. That's so great. And also I'm a life coach and an astrologer, and I use astrology and human design in my practice. So for those of you who have explored, astrology in the terms of human design, I am an emotional manifesting generator 2-5 profile line. So I just wanted to put that out there too.
Wow. Human design is fascinating. We won't go too much down that rabbit hole.
That's another podcast.
It's a whole other podcast. And it's really a whole, can you just give a brief for people that are like, human design, what's that? And what am I? Go ahead.
Of course. Yeah, so human design uses astrology. So they're like cousins. It's another system, and it brings astrology together with like the chakra system, the I Ching, the tree of life. And it's about how you use your energy and how you use your energy in relationship to other people. So it's a beautiful system, very cool, very complicated. So don't get too stuck in the weeds, take it slow, look at your type, strategy, and authority before you go any deeper.
Okay, wonderful. Even just knowing that I'm a manifesting generator and that there's very important people in my life who are projectors.
Yes.
And so it's a great combo, because they're like visioning and seeing where things can go. And then I'm like, okay, let's implement it. Let's make it come to life. Let's make it tangible. Yeah.
Yes. I know. Nice. Manifesting generator, big energy. I'm not surprised that that's you as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. But we'll have to geek out about that another time too.
Sounds great. Okay. So let's talk about this midheaven and north node. Why do you choose those 2 points for leadership?
Great question. Yes. So the midheaven, I noticed when I started studying astrology and started doing my amateur readings on everyone, like looking up everyone's chart, that I was actually reading the midheaven more than the sun, which was so interesting. I know I love astrology. It's so diverse. Like everyone has their thing. For me, it's the midheaven. And I really just felt like that what was on the forefront. That's what I was seeing in people. When I would guess what their sign was, I would always guess the midheaven. It's the highest point in the sky at the moment that you're born, for those of you who are new to the midheaven. And in your chart, it might be like shown as an arrow. Usually it's at the cusp between the 9th and the 10th house. And it might be called the MC, which is Latin for medium coeli or medium coeli. I never know how to pronounce that. But it means the middle of the heavens. So in terms of like, what does this mean for us? Because I'm all about the practical magic, right? Bring it down. What does it mean? How do we use it? It's all about how you shine in the world. So if you think about, the top of the sky, like noon, when during the day, the sun is at its highest, that's what's shining. That's where the light is coming from. And so I think of the midheaven as really like our highest and best self. And so, yes, there's a big application that you can bring into your career, but it's not only about that. It's also just about you as a leader. And when I say leadership, it's like, how do you go first? How do you forge a path ahead and not wait to follow someone else? How do you kind of charge into the unknown? How do you bring that courage out, and how can you guide other people? So that's what I mean when I see leadership. So like mothers are leaders, friends are leaders, like everyone is a leader in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the North Node. Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
North Node.
And then the North Node is, I mean, it's so interesting. So I have my perspective on what the North Node is. I know a lot of people have different, you know, kind of like with your rising sign conversation last time. So the North Node for me is that personal development. It's growth. It's what's going to stretch you. It's not your comfort zone. I always think about the South Node as the comfort zone. And with myself, my clients, my friends, it really expresses that way, which is so interesting. But then the North Node is like not your comfort zone. It's in the opposite sign, as you know. And it's like, okay, how can I stretch myself more? And to me, that's really a lot of what leadership is about. It's about doing the brave things, about pushing through, you know, or dealing with your fears and doing it anyway. And so the North Node is that, how can I grow? How can I earn wisdom? I always talk about the North Node as earned wisdom.
Ooh.
Because wisdom isn't, I mean, we are born with a certain amount of wisdom, but I think that the nodes push us to earn it through our experiences. Yeah. So as a leader, we're always growing and stretching. So in my archetype system, your primary archetype is going to be the midheaven, and I'll go through those. And then your secondary archetype is for the North Node. And so you're going to be working with both of those energies as you think about yourself as a leader, yourself leading other people.
Okay, this is so interesting, and this is an embarrassing confession.
Oh,
so I don't know why, but it just dawned on me, and Anna was with me. It was a couple weeks ago, that Scorpio is my North Node. I had always known that not my North Node, my Midheaven.
Your Midheaven. Yeah, I thought.
Midheaven. I'm sorry, my Midheaven. I had always known that Libra was my North Node in the 8th house. And I thought that was why I was attracting a bunch of Scorpios into my life, because I've always attracted Scorpios, always. Like literally when I was a little girl, I was like, why is everybody born in November? Like everybody's born in November, because all of my friends were Scorpios. And so cool. But now I was like, dawned on me, I put that piece together. I was like, oh, my midheaven Scorpio, maybe that has something to do with it.
It really does, because you're shining. Like if you think about the shining kind of idea, it's like you're shining the energy of Scorpio, and people pick up on that, and then they recognize what's in them, right? So it's like this attraction. It's like magnets.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so tell us a little bit. Do you want to go through? Tell me where you want to start with this.
Yeah, totally. I think what I'll do is, I talk fast, Gemini moon, so I'll just run through the 12 signs and the archetypes, and I'm going to give you a brief I am statement for each one. Ooh. And then just a couple of things to watch out for. So I'll be efficient with time, because I know we want to chat about it too. So okay, so I'm going to start with Aries, go through Pisces. I love my lovely patient Pisces. You always wait to the end to hear yours.
It's so funny that we had an astrologer do it backwards one time, on accident. And the Pisces were like, oh my God, thank you for starting with us. It was so cute. But okay, let's go Aries.
Sometimes I go backwards, but today we'll start with Aries.
Okay.
All right. So Aries first. So again, just remember everyone, if you have your midheaven, your MC, or your North Node in this sign, this is going to be either your primary archetype or your secondary archetype. So then listen out for what you are. Okay, so Aries is the maverick. That's the name I have for that. So if you have Aries, Midheaven, North Node, you are the maverick. This is your I am statement is, I blaze trails, or I do things my own way. So it's all about that fire energy. We're really bringing that in. You just break the rules, do it your way, go forward, win your independence. It's fantastic. Things to watch out for: impatience, taking a lot of risks, kind of being a bit hot-headed, and kind of just having tunnel vision. So this is near and dear to my heart. Even, it's not just because it's the first one, but my North Node is in Aries. So it's very, I understand the challenge of someone who has the North Node in Aries, is that because we're comfortable making everyone comfortable. But Aries is not about being comfortable. Aries is about doing it your way. And I have found that the more I tap into that as a leader myself, and the more that I embrace the innovation and breaking the rules, the more that I actually realize satisfaction. I feel fulfilled. I find success. It's fascinating stuff. So work with that. All right. So that's Aries. Then we go to Taurus. So Taurus, our lovely earth sign, is the guardian. So this is all about being trustworthy, stable, secure. They would say, I learn from the past and I focus on quality and stability. So things to watch out for here are like being stubborn, closed-minded, moving a little bit too slowly, but every time I talk about this, I always say focus on the strengths, because these are your natural gifts. They're inside of you, whether you recognize it or not. I talk to a lot of people about the midheaven. They're like, oh yeah, like I just do that naturally. They don't even think about it. It's just natural. All right. And then we go to Gemini, the influencer. So that's our air energy coming in, our mutable air, double air. So Gemini would say, I am a champion networker and I love to exchange ideas. So they're all about that exchange of information, very intellectual, very interesting. I always describe the influencer as the person who enters the party and they're not necessarily the most beautiful, the most, like the tallest, the whatever, but there's something that draws people to them. People want to know, what are you into? What are you up to? They influence without even realizing it. It's fascinating. My best friend is an influencer. I see it all the time. It's beautiful. Things to watch out for, because you've got that strong intellect, be careful around verbal warfare. You can, because your words can cut as well, right? Inconsistency and overthinking, because we've got all that Mercury energy going on there on the midheaven. Okay, and then we move on to Cancer, our first water sign. So we just finished Cancer season, lovely. The sun was lighting you up if this is your midheaven or your north node. So Cancer is the gatherer. That's what I call it, the gatherer, because I was thinking, how do I describe the energy of Cancer in a leadership position? I'm like, this is the person who is inclusive. They bring people together. They form community. They're incredible community organizers. So they would say, I understand the complexity of humans and I lead from the heart. It's that deep knowing. It's not necessarily about what you say, it's what you feel, right? You understand people, you're empathetic. So things to watch out for would be like people pleasing, because you care so much, right? And you understand. Make sure that you are trusting yourself, and just be careful of hyper empathy and just over giving. Then we move to Leo, the MC. So when I say the MC, I mean the master of ceremonies. So this is like the person, like, what's that movie, The Greatest Showman? Like the person who's like, and welcome, the hostess with the mostest, the MC. So they would say, I am a master motivator who can bring people together around a common cause. So they're that hype woman, hype person, hype man who can just bring all of the energy and bring the fun and the play, right? As a leader, so much fun to work for, the MC, the master of ceremonies. Things to be aware of, missing details. It's that fire energy. It wants to go fast, fast, fast. Being defensive when you're in the spotlight, right? Everyone wants to critique you, so you can get a little defensive. And hogging the stage. Make sure you allow space for other people to shine as well. Then we go to Libra, the diplomat. So this is your north node, right? Yes. So your north node in Libra, the diplomat, would say, I am gifted in building relationships and finding common ground for causes that I believe in. That's so you. That's so you. I love it.
Yes, definitely.
Does that, we'll talk about it after, but I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay.
So bringing in that Libra energy, as we all know, Libra is so much about that seventh house vibe of relationships. It's like, how can I compromise? How can I make sure that you're happy, I'm happy, we find somewhere in the middle? So, because you have the Aries South Node, it's really important to recognize that you can tap into those leadership qualities of compromise, of diplomacy. The things to watch out for are manipulation, because Libra, North Node and Libra midheavens are so good at relationships. They can end up kind of like using that and manipulating people. So it's just a little thing to watch out for. Self-righteousness and people pleasing as well. I resonate with this with my Libra sun too. So something to look out for. But again, always tap into your strengths. They're there for a reason. Then we go to Scorpio. So your midheaven in Scorpio is the strategist. Yes, I love all of them, but I like to reclaim some of the signs that get a hard time. I think Scorpio sometimes gets a hard time, and I just absolutely love the idea of the strategist. So what they would say is, I am brave and resilient, and I understand power dynamics. So it's all about, like, I understand the deeper motivations. It's like, you think about the water signs, Cancer, the gatherer, understands how people feel. Scorpio goes even deeper to their motivations. And it's like, I can see why they're doing this, why they want this, what they want from me, so you can see all those power dynamics. And sometimes that can lead to isolationism a little bit. It's like, I'm just going to do it myself because I can see what's going on beneath the surface and I don't want to work with that. So what I always suggest for Scorpio midheavens is make sure that you build your amazing A team, right? Do you call it the A team or the dream team?
We do call it the A team. And all the Virgos are like, you forgot us. So we got to go back to Virgo. But yes, we did.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I forgot Virgo.
It's okay. Let's finish Scorpio and then we'll go to Virgo. Don't worry, everybody. We got you.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yes, we do call it the A team.
I love it. So that's exactly my advice is like, for anyone with a Scorpio midheaven or North Node, it's like, create a circle of trust. The people that you know have your back, the people that you know what their motivations are, you trust them and they've earned your trust, and really work with that. I think there's so much here about not going into the isolationism, but coming back to the team and being that strategist as a leader that everyone wants you to be. So going back to my lovely Virgos, oh my gosh, Virgo is one of my other favorites. I mean, they're all my favorite. What can I say? But Virgo is the curator. So this is problem-solving energy. So good. That midheaven and that North Node love to solve problems. So your I am statement is, I am an expert problem solver. I see all the options and critically determine the best solution. So I just love this Virgo energy. From the way I describe it is that you're able to see the big picture and the details at the same time. Like when you speak to someone with that strong Virgo placement, it's just so fascinating to hear how they see all the different pieces of the puzzle and they can select the best option. Things to be careful of there are micromanaging, perfectionism, because you can see all the options, you can see the best option. Sometimes done is better than perfect, right? And workaholism. So just being careful not to overdo it with the problem solving, but absolutely, this is such a gift that you have. So make sure that you use it wisely. All right, so then we'll go to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is my midheaven. So this is the guide. I call it the guide because they would say they are the truth seeker. As a guide, they guide people by sharing what they found. So I think of this as someone who has experienced life. They've gone out, they tried the buffet, they have done it themselves. They don't just want to read about it in a book, they also want to experience it. But then once they've gathered that experience and that information, they want to share it. There's this like urge to teach. I always had this urge in myself and I really like stamped it down for quite a long time. I was like, I'm not smart enough. I have a funny voice, like whatever, like crazy ideas, your mind comes up with to stop you from doing your dream. And finally I realized, actually I am really good at teaching. I have a good teaching energy. This is my midheaven. It shines. Other people can see it even before I can. So as the guide, I want to give everyone out there full permission to learn and then teach what you've learned. Something to be aware of with Sagittarius is bluntness. Look out for that, right? Because you speak the truth and sometimes people aren't ready to hear it. Being patronizing or over intellectualizing. Sometimes we just love to learn and love the philosophizing of it, but we need to remember to come back to the practical. All right, just 3 more left. Then we get to Capricorn. So Capricorn midheaven or North Node is the pioneer. So this is, I talked about leadership being going into the unknown. Capricorn gets that. They're just like, yep, I'm courageous. I'm going to go for it. So the I am statement is, I journey into the unknown. I will climb the mountain and plant my flag. It's so much about like creating a legacy, creating something that lasts. They actually enjoy the struggle. It's like, let's climb, let's get there. They love having a goal and then they love going after it. That's something to look out for is, again, workaholism. That's our earthy energy there, and bulldozing over people on the way up the mountain. So just make sure that, yes, you are clear on where you want to go. Yes, you're ready, and bring your team along with you. And then we have Aquarius. So it's Aquarius full moon. Very excited for everyone. That Aquarian age energy is so hot. I call the Aquarius archetype the innovator. It's that Uranus innovation energy. So they would say, I think of things that don't exist yet. I want to innovate and be of service for our future. It's very like looking out into the future focus. Things to be aware of is lack of compromise. It's fixed air. Sometimes it's like, I know what it is and I don't want to compromise with anyone else. So just being aware of that when you're a leader. Also overthinking and wanting to just do it yourself. Aquarius is such a unique, cool, innovation energy. Sometimes I call it unicorn energy. They're just different. And sometimes they get misunderstood, but it's like, stay on your path, recognize and allow your uniqueness to come out. You see the future before any of us do. So just trust in that and trust in your own innovation. And then last but not least, our lovely Pisces. So this is the archetype of the visionary. So this is someone who would say, I imagine a better world. My vision and creativity connects me to others. I think there's something so creative. It's like, I always describe it as the heart of the artist with Pisces. And it's like indulging that and using your natural gifts to bring your vision to life and to show the world the vision of a better world, I think can be so powerful. It's that last sign of the zodiac. It's the wisest. It's like, let's go. Things to look out for there, because you're so good at zooming out and seeing the big picture, is not forgetting the practical details, not getting lost in the dream. Remember to come back to the realism and to come back to what you're creating in this life at this time, and to be present and make sure that you don't avoid problems. So tapping into that visionary energy is so powerful. All right. So that's a quick run through of the 12 archetypes.
Amazing. And yes, I'm so happy you are embracing your teacher role, because that was just so beautiful. And I know, we have limited time, so I know there's a lot more depth you would go into normally. Couple questions for you.
Yes.
So obviously we'll resonate with several of them because of the rest of the chart.
Yes.
And we're specifically talking about the way that we lead.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like when you were describing Capricorn, I was like, well, yeah, I totally resonate with that too. And Aquarius, I really resonate with that too. So what do you say when people are like, oh, well, I kind of resonate with many of them?
Yes, that's so true. A lot of times it's like, and also depending on the makeup of the chart too, right? Like I have some friends that have like 5 planets in Sagittarius. So they're like very Sagittarian. So they'll resonate with that. I would say there are other archetypes that I think work well for, say, our emotional life or our relationships with other people. But the Midheaven and North Node, I do feel are particularly about how we lead. Because I think that talking about at work, I think that at work, we bring a different version of ourselves. Like we're a different version with our kids, with our loved ones, when we're, receiving information. But when we're there and we're kind of more on the stage and we're more in charge, this is the energy you want to tap into. This is where you want to bring those natural gifts out. So that's a really good question. I absolutely, we are our whole chart. We're not just one placement, but I think that this is the placement that comes out when the chips are down, when we're maybe there's a stressful situation, we need to lead our way through it.
Ah, yes. And when you were, okay, so it's very, like you actually brought up things about my own leadership approach that I wouldn't have been able to language. So,
Wow.
But I literally was in a conversation this morning saying things that you were saying, because so what I'm realizing is that the way that the community experiences me is more the Leo one, is more the MC. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? It's more that MC. I am even called the Master of Ceremonies on our website, because that's the way I show up here. Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's where I show up here for the podcast and the different shows we do. However, with the team, what you described, I'm like, whoa, this idea of this Scorpio midheaven, I literally just got off a call talking about how I see the workplace and working in a team as an opportunity for us to transform and grow personally, and that it's a rich arena with lots of content for us to dig deep and become who we are. I'm like, how Scorpio could I be about that?
It's so Scorpio. Oh my God. And we do it without realizing, right? It's like, I'm so happy that you shared that. Thank you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I literally do. Like the person I was on the phone with can validate. I literally said those words. And what the secondary, so the Libra secondary, I would say that is the role that I play with our astrologers and our community and all of you in the community. So it's like very relationship driven. It's very like, how do we like come together and create scenarios that are win-wins and that benefit.
I know, I've always admired how you hold the energy of so many different personalities. Not to say that it's challenge, but I mean, that is a challenge to bring together so many different styles, personalities, time zones. Like you're just amazing at building those relationships. And I think that that has led to a lot of the success of Astrology Hub, because it doesn't seem like a competition. I mean, it's not a competition.
It's not, no.
Everyone is here to work together and to elevate the system and the magic of astrology. Yeah,
exactly.
So
yeah, I mean that is that the hub concept. It's like we're a hub for a reason. This truly is a hub. It's a place where lots of different people and perspectives and backgrounds and experiences and all come together to create a story that has resonance for lots of different people in the community.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, exactly.
So, I love it. Yeah, it really, I can say that it gave language to the different facets of the way I show up as a leader. So that's really interesting. I'm curious to hear from all of you too. Like, were there things that you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I show up that way? The other thing I wanted to ask all of you is how many of you even identify as a leader? Like how many of you would think of yourself as a leader? And how many of you don't? Like, you're like, I don't think of myself that way. One of the things I've been doing recently, Rachel, is thinking of leadership less as like, I'm the leader, and more as, and all that goes with that, which is hilarious. When you talk to children, like sometimes Sophia my daughter will be like, well, Mama, you're the boss, right? Can't you just tell everybody what to do? I was like, well, honey, that's not the way it works. If you want to actually have people around you, like
exactly, not the way it works.
Yes, exactly. So, but I've been thinking of the word guardian. So that's why I thought it was interesting that guardian was the Taurus sort of, because instead of leader, it's like, what am I the guardian of? I'm the guardian of this community. I'm the guardian of this vision. I'm the guardian of my team, which is different than I'm the leader, I guess
the only one that matters. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it makes sense that you resonate with that too, because Taurus is, has that relationship with Scorpio being the opposite and also being fixed. So it's like, I want to protect, right? The Scorpion comes out of its lair and wants to protect and guard and make sure everyone's okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm seeing lots of leaders, people saying, like Gail says, as a coach, I do see myself as a leader. Florence says, I do. Darnie says, I see Amanda as diplomat, which would be the Libra, right?
Yes, definitely. Oh.
Amazing. Okay.
I love hearing people's experiences. I think it's so interesting because, you asked the question, like, do we see ourselves as a leader? I think that that's why I created these archetypes. I'm so passionate about people taking themselves and elevating themselves and seeing themselves as leaders, because I think we have that desire deep inside, but we think we have to do it a certain way. We see political people, we see, people on TV displaying a certain type of leadership, or our parents displaying a certain type of leadership. And I want to empower everyone, listening, in terms of understanding that you have your own flavor, you have your own way, and we need all of them. Like, we need this whole zodiac of leaders' styles,
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we see a lot of the shadow, like the be careful of, when you were going through all the different signs, we see a lot of the be careful of exhibited. So again, this whole redefining leadership, I think, is really an interesting exploration for all of us. And no matter what, even if you're not a leader of people outside of you, you're a leader of your own life. I mean, you're a leader of your own story. You're a leader of your own path. So
exactly. It starts with leading yourself. I think that's really where leadership begins. And like when we're kids, we're following other people. We're, like they give us advice, and then we have the Saturn return. And the Saturn return is like, okay, time to take your own inner authority back. Time to step in and say, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the direction I'm heading in. So you are guiding yourself, like regardless of whether you have a team, whether you're a certain level at work. That's not what this archetype system is about. It's about, okay, how are you leading yourself through the journey of your growth in your life and taking care of yourself? Really, you're the team. you're the team.
Exactly. And we all know we got a lot of players going on inside of us. So we are the leader of the team of ourselves. Okay. So lots of questions about like, different aspects.
Yeah.
What happens when you have like the opposing energy in your MC and your North Node?
Yeah.
Do you want to cover a few of those nuances? I know we don't have time to go like super deep, but
I could go through a couple. Yeah, that's usually the main questions I get are, what about when like your North Node and your Midheaven are in the same sign, and then what about if they're opposite? I've actually done a video on this on my Instagram, but I'll suffice it to say that if your North Node is in the same sign as your Midheaven, then I just think of it as like double energy. It's like, okay, if you have the diplomat, in both, or maybe we'll talk about a different one since we've talked about, if you've got the innovator, so you have the North Node innovator and the Midheaven, that means that, this is like the direction you're heading in is towards your natural gifts already. So I kind of think that might express as being less challenging for you, because it's like, well, I naturally am already here. I just need to embrace it and trust myself more. So that's kind of the piece of advice I would give there. And that the North Node may not feel like so much of a stretch to you. Now, if you've got it in the opposite, so you've got the Midheaven in, we'll use that, the Aquarius, Aquarius Leo axis maybe. So, or actually let's do Pisces Virgo. I always like, this is a more kind of, okay. So if we say you have the Pisces Midheaven, the visionary, and then you have Virgo North Node. So that means that your Midheaven and your South Node are close together or next to each other. So that means that you are very comfortable in that visionary Pisces energy. So you're going to be super comfy there. That's great. And then also when you're ready to grow. So, in our lives, we're going to have different growth points. Maybe it's having kids, maybe it's getting a promotion, maybe it's, whatever it is, something happens, and then it's time to grow through that experience, through that challenge perhaps. So when it's time to grow, that's the great time to tap into that North Node, which is the opposite. So it would be like, okay, now how am I going to tap into my problem solving ability? How am I going to zoom in? I see the big picture. I get what this is about, but I need to get to the practical point. I need to do the things now that I need to do, like take the baby steps, look at the details, get into that Virgo practicality energy while I'm going through this challenge and this growth point. That's how I would describe it.
Okay. Rachel, what do you see the outcome of people knowing this about themselves? Like, what does it enable them to do?
Yes. I think, I've had so many beautiful conversations and readings with people where it's like a light turns on. It's like there's this confidence that comes out that's like, yeah, I am good at that, but so-and-so somewhere down the line told me not to do it. It's like, it's like there's so much conditioning that we take on. So I think it's just peeling off a layer of the shoulds. And we can just allow ourselves to release the shoulds more and start to step into being our own unique selves. I mean, couldn't be talking about this at a better time. We've got the Aquarius full moon. It's like, be your unique self and allow that uniqueness to come through and stop trying to fit into the box that someone else made at some point down the line. So I think it's an unveiling. I think it's a revealing.
It's just uncanny how perfect this topic is. I can't believe it, because it also feels to me in context of the greater exploration of this year, the Saturn Uranus. And Saturn, of course, being some of those things that are established and you do it because that's the way it's been done. And it's always been this way. And here's the structure. And leadership has a really crusty one. Like a really crusty, this is the way it's been done. And I feel personally in my own life that Uranus is coming in is just like, boom, let's like blow this up and like innovate and really create something that is so much more aligned and sustainable. Saturn's happy about that, sustainable long-term, because the way we've been doing it just isn't serving.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Where can innovation come in? And again, I love that you're bringing us back to our charts, because it's like the innovation can begin right there, like in your leadership style and what you're meant to bring to this new approach, this new visioning of how it can look. And
Exactly. Yeah. I think we're looking for something to grab onto, right? It's like
yes,
2020 happened. We're in 2021. It's already more than halfway over. You're like, what's happening? What have I learned? How do I process? How do I use this? And I think it's a coming home. It's like coming home to yourself, coming back to the gifts that you have, coming back to what's important to you. All of what you said, I absolutely love it. And I love that you brought in Saturn and Uranus. It just made me chuckle because I have Saturn and Uranus both conjunct my midheaven.
oh my gosh, amazing.
So I have a special relationship with those two planets, and I think it's just, you're right. It's like, what do we like about the establishment that needs to stay? And Uranus is like, and what needs to go?
Yes. And I think for so many people, we're watching the leadership in the world and we're like, God, I don't know. That's not great. And I'm just, but then there's the question, well, what would be better? Like, how could we do it better? And so much of last year was about like coming back to our own inner authority, our own inner leadership. Yes. And so this process of, well, what is my way of leading and how can that better serve the community that I serve?
Yes, right? Exactly. I think it's an interesting axis of like, also with the Aquarian age, it's like, I'm an individual, but I serve the community. So there's this whole thing as well about like, do I want to fit in more? And which group do I associate with? And do I fit in with? Or is there still this individualism where I need to embrace who I am? I think that's also a big conversation right now. It's like, how do I identify myself? Yeah.
Right. I have so many paradoxes that we're holding all at the same time, which I guess is life, but it just seems really magnified right now. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. It's so good.
Oh, me too. I wish I could make a list for you and everybody of like how synchronistic this is. It's like, yeah, it's amazing. So hopefully you're having a similar experience and that some of these things that we're talking about today are helping you in your exploration of the way that you're showing up in the world and how you would like to show up and what you would like to embrace more of. I love what you said, Rachel, of it just giving the permission slip of like, okay, this isn't the way it's been done. This isn't the way that I see other people do it, but this is the way I'm meant to do it. Like, this is the way I'm meant to show up for myself and the people around me. So Rachel, if people are interested in learning more about you, where should they go?
Oh, yes. So if you want to learn more about me or watch some more, I have videos on each one of these archetypes. So there's more detail there. You can go to my Instagram is the best place, really. So it's at Rachel Onojafe. So if you're on the podcast, it's at RACHELONOJAFE. Yeah. And then my website is just rachelonojafe.com. And I have a Facebook group as well. If you want to join, I'm doing a Leo challenge right now for Leo's. I'm going live every single day in there with different cosmic insights and mindset work. So good stuff.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And for those of you who are not yet a part of our Cosmic Insider, which is the weekly email that we send out, summarizing all the different shows that we had for the week, also giving, I usually like to laser focus in on like one or two things so that you can just get the themes and the taste of what we're working with astrologically. That's free. You go to astrologyhub.com/insider if you're not already getting our weekly Cosmic Insider. Rachel, thank you. Like, this is so much fun. I love meeting astrologers who are really good at taking complex ideas and making them accessible and simple for people to understand and giving that like tangible, like, oh, I can go now look at my chart and contemplate what she just said and see how it's showing up in my life and how I can embrace it more. So thank you. You're very good at doing that.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You made me think of this like Dolly Parton quote that I always consider when I'm thinking about astrology and the magic and how we can make it practical. She says, find out who you are and do it on purpose. That's what this is all about. So thank you so much for inviting me. This is amazing.
Yay, Rachel. Okay, well, we'll see you in the inner circle. I love that you're an inner circle member. And we will look forward to connecting with you again very soon. I think a human design conversation at some point would be I know there's lots of interest there.
I'm here for that. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have fun exploring this idea, looking at your midheaven and your North Node from this lens or perspective. Continue to write in as you're watching these videos. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of our community And thank you as always for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you on the next episode.